let's jump right into this explainer and unpack a psychological phenomenon you've almost certainly witnessed or, honestly, maybe even experienced yourself. We're talking about the armor of laughter. Why we hide behind humor. It's actually one of the oldest defense mechanisms in human psychology, but we rarely talk about what it looks like in practice. And just to be clear, we're not talking about fake laughter or just pretending to be happy. We're talking about the habit of transforming your own pain into something, well, something easier for everyone else to handle. Think about that one friend. You know the one, right? Have you ever met someone who fits this exact description? They can make an entire room roar with laughter while they are quietly just falling apart inside. They're the person who turns absolutely every painful memory into a joke. The one who says, "Oh, I'm good," way faster than anyone even has a chance to ask. The coworker who never seems stressed, the family member who smiles through literal disaster, the friend who keeps everyone completely comfortable, except themselves. And look, maybe we're talking about you right now. To really understand this rapid-fire deflection, think about how incredibly fast the brain converts something painful into humor. It happens before the real emotion even lands. Break up? Boom, immediately it's a joke. The performance is completely automatic. After doing this for years, they don't even consciously choose it anymore. Something devastating happens and their brain just bypasses the hurt and defaults right to the punchline.
Family trauma? Yep, same exact thing. Just another joke. Or maybe it's a full-blown existential crisis at 2 a.m. and they just tweet something hilarious about it. See, this isn't just about being entertaining. It's a highly sophisticated way of taking profound pain and wrapping it up into this socially acceptable, totally digestible little package. Because when you make people laugh, well, they stop asking questions. The pain wrapped in humor becomes the perfect camouflage.
Okay, so let's get into layer one, the science of deflection. Psychologists have actually been studying this camouflage for decades. Way back when Sigmund Freud identified this exact behavior, he noted that humor acts as a sort of pressure valve. It allows people to release emotional tension so they can completely avoid confronting painful feelings directly. And honestly, it's genuinely clever when you step back and look at it. Humor creates this massive distance between a person and their pain. It literally lets them talk about something deeply hurtful without ever feeling fully exposed. Now, building on Freud's idea, modern psychology found a distinct and, frankly, kind of alarming pattern. It turns out excessive self-deprecating humor is heavily linked to some serious hidden struggles. We're talking anxiety, loneliness, emotional suppression, and depression. It's obviously not the case 100% of the time, but it happens so consistently that researchers started paying really close attention to this link. And this perfectly illustrates how a nervous system actually adapts in real time. Picture a child who learns early on that being emotional just makes the adults around them uncomfortable, right? Maybe their tears were totally ignored or they were told they were being too sensitive. But the second they crack a joke, instant positive attention. The whole household lights up, a connection is made. So what happens? The nervous system quite literally wires itself to understand vulnerability gets you ignored, but humor guarantees an audience. So instead of saying, "Hey, I'm hurting," they learn to deliver a punchline instead. Something like, "Well, at least it's character development." And boom, it works. Everybody laughs, the tension breaks, and the conversation quickly moved on. The real, raw feeling stays safely locked away beneath the armor of the joke. Let's move on to layer 2, humor as emotional steering. See, real emotional vulnerability is messy. It's awkward, unpredictable, and for a lot of people, downright terrifying. But humor gives people control over that unpredictable vulnerability. By delivering a joke, you get to steer the room. You decide exactly how much truth gets revealed. If things start feeling a little too real, a little too exposed, you can just immediately pull the ripcord with a laugh. For anyone who grew up around instability, having that kind of control feels like absolute safety. And here's the wild part. Society totally rewards this. We love people who don't bring the mood down. But that creates a really dangerous contradiction. Someone becomes emotionally fluent in comedy. They're the life of the party. But they end up completely emotionally illiterate in vulnerability. They literally don't know how to ask for help. The funny friend gets invited to absolutely everything, But how often do people actually stop and ask how they're really doing? Which brings us to layer 3, the heavy cost of armor. Now, researchers are very quick to point out that humor can be totally healthy, but we really need to separate healthy, adaptive humor, the kind that actually helps you process pain and build resilience, from the act of just hiding inside humor to avoid pain altogether. Hiding inside humor creates this profound, exhausting emotional distance. And trust me, the line between adaptive humor and hiding can get blurry really fast. If I don't laugh about it, I'll cry. You've probably heard someone say that, right? Most of us just hear it as a lighthearted quip. But psychologically speaking, for a nervous system that learned early on that crying didn't get results, but laughter equaled survival and relief, that sentence is incredibly literal. It explains why some of the absolute funniest people you've ever met also seem strangely impossible to reach on an emotional level. They aren't cold. They're just heavily, heavily protected. Let's strip it down to the core, existing without entertaining. Emotionally wounded people often become unbelievable at making everyone else comfortable. Why? Because they secretly know exactly what severe discomfort feels like, better than anyone else. And somewhere along the way, this tragic, quiet thought took root. If I can make people laugh, maybe they'll keep me around. They start equating their entire self-worth with their ability to perform wellness and just deliver the next punchline. Once you realize that, it completely changes how you view a room full of people. Beneath the loudest laughter, it starts to sound different. It sounds protective. It sounds incredibly tired. It sounds like someone who got very, very good at hiding sadness in plain sight. They're basically using laughter as a shield to keep the exposing, terrifying silence away. So here is the crucial takeaway. If you recognize yourself in this explainer today, know that your humor wasn't fake. It was a highly intelligent adaptation. Your mind literally found a brilliant way to survive difficult emotions, and that deserves so much compassion. But survival strategies are not meant to become permanent identities. At some point, you deserve a space where you don't have to constantly perform wellness, a place where you can just exist without needing to package your pain into a punchline. I want to leave you with a final thought to reflect on today. Take a second and ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you expressed pain without turning it into humor first? Really think about it, because answering that honestly might just change how you understand yourself or, the funniest person you know. After all, sometimes the people who smile the most are carrying stories nobody ever stopped to ask about. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today.